All right. Hey, thank you for coming to our session here on the last day of Red Hat Summit. It's been a great summit for us. And by way of introduction, my name's Steve Yetter, and I'm an IT manager at 3M in our applications group. And the group I manage is responsible for 3M's portfolio of roughly 250 mobile apps. And today, my colleague Peter Reinhardt will be presenting on our efforts to improve our mobile app platform using Red Hat technology. But before we get into the details, I want to provide an introduction to 3M as context for Peter's presentation. So when you say 3M, most people think first of our iconic consumer brands such as Scotch tape and Post-it notes. So those brands are certainly important to us as a company, but they are a relatively small part of 3M's overall business. Most people don't know that 3M makes over 50,000 products, and managing all of that product data and presenting it out to our customers is a big part of what we do in IT. So everyone in this room encounters 3M products multiple times a day, but many of you are probably not aware of it. So for example, how many of you in this room have ridden in a car recently? Okay, if I'm not seeing every hand up, somebody's lying. Okay, everybody's ridden in a car recently. So, for instance, in virtually every car, that there's a considerable amount of 3M product that goes into them, from adhesives used both internally and externally to put bumpers on cars and side molding, that there is abrasives that are used to finish the car body. There are parts that go into the exhaust system. On average, there's probably about $30 to $50 worth of content on every American car made, and that's just in America. I mean, worldwide, we supply the global auto industry, and that's just one market vertical that we get into. So, this slide summarizes 3M's 4 fundamental strengths. 3M's primarily a technology company. We invest roughly 6% of our revenue in R&D. Science applied to life is at the core of who we are. Manufacturing is another strength that sets us apart. We have developed both manufacturing footprint and capability in many key areas that allow us to produce higher performing and lower cost products than our competitors. We also have an extremely global presence. We don't just sell around the world. We develop our products in all parts of the world. We have labs in Europe and in Asia, and we take the products that we make in one area of the world and we apply them to the unique needs and challenges in other parts of the world. And then there finally is the 3M brand as a core strength. 3M is an iconic brand. It's very recognizable, and it conveys our promise of high quality and high performing products to the marketplace. So a lot of facts here. I'm not going to throw them all at you, but just to give you a sense more of who we are, we've been around for over 100 years. We have over $30 billion in revenues each year. And most people don't realize, they think about 3M as an American company, but 60% of our revenues come from outside the United States, as well as the majority of our workforce is outside the United States. We sell products across nearly 200 countries. So if there's a country out there, we do business in it. And we're organized into 5 business groups by market. So our biggest business group is industrial, but we also have healthcare, electronics and energy, safety and security, and consumer. One statistic that we're very proud of is the fact that 1/3 of our sales come from products that were created within just the last 5 years. So we are in a process of continual reinvention as a company. Most of the products that we sell, we have some sort of IP around so that we can claim a higher price in the marketplace. But as soon as a product becomes a commodity, we're typically exiting that market. So how do we do all of this invention? Well, this fellow here is William McKnight. And he was not our first CEO, but he was the CEO that I think did the most to shape the culture at 3M and a culture of innovation. He actually started with the company in 1907 as a bookkeeper. And he rose through the ranks and became the CEO and left the company in 1966. So worked in the company almost 6 decades. And my tenure at the company, I've been with 3M for 17 years, and I'm still feel like a relative newcomer most days at 3M. So one of the things that McKnight did was he established some operating philosophies that we know as the McKnight principles. And they really kind of boil down to this quote that's up here on the screen. Management that is destructively critical when mistakes are made kills innovation, kills initiative. And and we need to have, and it's essential that we have many people with initiative if we are to continue to grow. So though it looks like McKnight probably went to the same barber as Jeff Bezos, this is kind of the anti-Jeff Bezos, if you will, in terms of a corporate culture. And so 3M is extremely and encourages risk-taking, and we understand that when people take risks, they're going to fail, but it's more important to take the risk. So another aspect of the McKnight culture that lives on at 3M is the 15% culture. And McKnight encouraged people, and not just in the labs, but really across the company, to spend 15% of their time working on projects that were of interest to them and things that they had a passion around. And here's a couple of examples of products that we have today that have come out recently that come out of this 15% culture. But famously, I think some of you have heard the Post-it note story, that Post-it notes was a 15% product at 3M. It was actually a failed innovation story. We were trying to create a super glue, and we failed miserably at it. And we created a glue that only worked sort of intermittently. And Arthur Fry, who was the inventor of the Post-it note, he was also sang in the choir. And he took this failure as a glue and he put it on pieces of paper, and he created tabs for his hymnal so that when he went, he could find whatever he was going to be singing that day. And then he said, wait a second, other people might like this too. And so the Post-it note was born. This slide shows our 46 core technology platforms. So this is where our scientists spend their time. And it's not just the technology platforms that we're investing in terms of pure R&D in each one of these areas, but we're looking for interesting collaborations or combinations across these technologies to create products. We leverage these technologies to invent unique and relevant products, which we bring to market in a variety of different ways through our 5 different business groups. At 3M, there are really no silos within the company, and we strive to have a very open culture. In that way, we're very much like the open source community. And so, being here at Red Hat conference and talking a lot about open source technology feels very much like being at 3M. On average, 3M scientists amass about 3,000 patents a year. Throughout our history, we've been granted more than 100,000 patents, and we're still going strong. So I'm in the mobile app space, and one of the things that's a key thing for us is protecting our data assets, such as IP patents. It's a top priority for us, and especially as 3M moves more of its work onto mobile devices, and especially as those mobile devices are not necessarily owned by 3M, this is a key concern for us, and something that we bring into every conversation when we're with Red Hat or other vendors we're talking about mobile technology. This slide summarizes all of the locations around the world that 3M has sales, manufacturing, or lab capabilities. Many of the parts of the world we do business in are network challenged. So one of the key use cases we have in our mobile app group is finding ways to securely synchronize data onto mobile devices worldwide for our only occasionally online clients. And so that's a big deal, and Peter will be talking with you a little bit about what we've been doing with Feed Henry, now the 3M mobile platform product, in terms of using that for data synchronization onto mobile devices. So at 3M, we believe that science is just science until you make it improve the world. 3M's beliefs are in alignment with Jim Whitehurst's inspiring opening keynote remarks, especially his comments when he said, "Innovation rarely comes from the boardroom or the executive suite. It comes much closer to the customer." So that is what 3M strives to do every day. We use 3M to improve lives and solve problems by working closely with our customers and with each other. So that's all I have by way of introduction. I'll be happy to take questions about 3M at the end, but now I'd like to turn over the presentation to Peter.
Thank you, Steve. So now that you've got a little background of who we are and what we are and how big we are, I want to talk about a specific business challenge we were presented with One of the key things that Steve mentioned is we're a worldwide company. We have Salesforce. We have people all over the world. LTE connections don't exist everywhere. We need to get our applications to work and synchronize data offline. And we have to do this in our existing enterprise environment. So I really want to talk today about what are some of the major challenges that regularly need to be overcome to enable mobile app development in an enterprise. I want to talk about what did I originally think the solution was. And that kind of brought some problems and really delayed us. And then how did we begin to build an effective solution? So one of the key pieces, we're on a journey. Where we get to is not our end state. It was actually a first step in enabling our mobile application development platform. So our specific business case, offline availability of our product catalog data. And this is really critical at 3M. Like, we're worldwide. We have sales reps that are in Chile, in the mountains, at the mines, trying to sell products. They may have internet connection. They go around a corner in the mountain and they will not have internet. And the sales cycle for some of our products is very long. So they might spend 2 to 3 months just to get a 15-minute appointment with an executive who's going to make a purchase. And they cannot waste their time saying, what's your Wi-Fi password and how do I get on? So offline capability, very, very critical to us. One of the things Steve mentioned this, we've got 5 major business groups. We need to build our solution as a reusable platform. So this couldn't be a one-off solution. And also you saw the vast number of products we have. When you start to think of product data, that's not just 50,000 products. That's 50,000 products in 80 different localizations. So this truly is a lot of data. And one of the other challenges we had, we couldn't start from scratch. We needed to keep the costs low by reusing existing product data management systems. And one of ours, you'll see it in my presentation a little bit, it's the acronym SNAPS. We had to get data from SNAPS. SNAPS stands for Search, Navigation, and Product Selection. So what are the major challenges faced by enterprise developers? What it really is it's legacy systems. We still have AS400 running at 3M. I'm not certain if we have tape drives running, but I actually thought the picture was great, so I included it. We have 3M data centers, so we're just on the initial steps out into the cloud. So anything I develop really has to exist in 3M's data center, or maybe it had to when we started our project. Many of our tools, they were built for a Windows-only world. Sometimes there's no API. Sometimes they'll give me a .exe file that's designed for Windows XP. Or even in a best case scenario, somebody might give me a Java solution that was meant to run on a Windows 7 PC. But it's really, how do we extend these legacy systems? And so what did I really think the solution was? So this before SOA, before service-oriented architecture, yes, we're monolithic. We're a huge enterprise. We have products all over the world. But a key thing to think about here is a lot of these decisions, they happened organically. They happened for a reason. Many times when we make our website, we need to get the product data very fast. So when they originally designed it, they made that Snap system specifically for our website. And I thought the solution was, let's re-architect 3M's entire infrastructure and just go right at a service-oriented architecture. And I really failed here. This was a mistake that I experienced. And I'm not saying we don't want to get here, but this is not the first step. You don't go from no SOA to SOA. So I kind of had to come to my own self and realize, how do I start this journey? How do I bring us into this process to move a very big corporation like 3M towards a service-oriented architecture. What did my management think my solution should be? Well, they said, Peter, reuse our existing systems. And these aren't just, this isn't really an architecture of our IT systems. This is really important at 3M. Even if I was given the opportunity to re-architect and reuse new systems as I wanted to, that list of employees that Steve showed us, there's a raft. There might be 100 to 200 different employees that are trained on our current product management systems. There's current processes in place to make certain that content gets entered and gets approved before it becomes publicly available on our systems. We're worldwide. So to give you an example, when a product gets entered into our product information management system, typically it starts in English, but we don't really want to be viewed as an American-only company. So before that product can show up on our website, it's actually going to be localized into 8 different languages so that we can do a worldwide publish instead of a US-centric publish. We really are a worldwide company. So we needed to reuse not just our existing IT, but our existing processes and the existing training that our employees have. And how did we do it? Well, we built this based on a 4-tier architecture. So Michael Facemeyer, he is an analyst at Forrester. It actually came out to 3M a few years ago, and he told us about his ideas on what a 4-tier architecture is, and it includes 4 major parts. There's a client tier, there's a delivery tier, an aggregation tier, and a client tier. And it kind of boils down to this right here. That service tier, those are existing on-premise systems of records and services in data. And now your aggregation tier, and this is really critical for mobile apps, is that data has to become aggregated and put into a reusable chunk that I can synchronize down to the mobile device for use offline. And I need a delivery tier. And I know you can make an API, but in the mobile world, APIs would get too chatty. The logic that would have to be written into your iOS app every single time to synchronize data would get very, very complex. You can imagine just the network traffic going, did my data change? Did my data change? And only updating when it did. So we needed a solution that really reduced the complexity of the delivery tier. And our client tier. For us, in this case, it really is our mobile applications. But in Michael Facemeyer's report, client tier could be wearables, it could be IoT, it's even PCs. So what are the technologies we used for our solutions? We did reuse our existing enterprise systems and our existing processes. We utilized OpenShift to help us convert those macro services into microservices. We used Red Hat's mobile application platform. When we started, it was called Feed Henry, but it's now Red Hat Mobile Application Platform. And we actually did a lot of research and tried to understand where our clients work. We built a native iOS mobile application. For 3M employees, our corporation has standardized on iOS devices. So for this specific use case, I was able to customize our app to iOS. So here's a little more details of our solution. We have our aggregation tier. This is actually Node.js inside of the mobile app platform. We have our data extraction tier. This was a custom crawler that we wrote and ran in OpenShift. And that data is all extracted and it's pushed into our mobile app platform and then synchronized down to our device. So here's another view, and it kind of shows you the 4-tier architecture. The number 1 piece, our existing macro service, our 3M product pages. What we were able to determine after a lot of work, that Snap system did not have an API, and the data structures were too complex for us to easily get at, we found the barrier of least resistance was to really just crawl our website and extract the data directly from our website, even our navigation. And at first, it was very unintuitive. It felt wrong, like crawling a website. But when you really think about it, a website, it's a macro service. You have your data, you have your display, you have your functionality. It's all bundled together. We wrote a specific crawler that was able to pull that macro service apart, get us just the data that we needed, and push it up into the mobile application platform and give us the microservices we needed. So the data was crawled. It was then pushed into Feed Henry. And Feed Henry, we had our Feed Henry Sync API that really reduced the complexity of handling that data synchronization. So just a different view of our service tier. It was a custom crawler that pulled our Snaps data directly from our website. And we actually put this into a specific, we were debating whether to do XML or JSON, but it turns out Mongo's native format as JSON. So when we did implement it, we converted our HTML product data into JSON for offline usage. We did some analysis on how long this could take and how much data we would be grabbing. So this was really important because people at first thought it'll be too much data. You won't be able to contain our website offline. Well, what we really found is if we build specific chunks that are targeted to our users, we can get the data down to about 180 megabytes, very reasonable size for a mobile application. And I can extract that data for a website in about 2.5 hours. What that basically means is we can update the data multiple times a day. We can hit our needs. Our aggregation tier. So our aggregation tier, after our crawler brought down our data, and we looked at Red Hat Fuse, but we didn't really need the full package. So we actually started with Apache Camel. It's a component of Fuse, but we only needed a single piece of it. We used Fuse to actually do the data transformation and move it into the mobile app platform. Our delivery tier. This is Red Hat Map. And really, one of the best things it did for us, and I know it talks about all the different developments, you've probably seen a lot of the presentation, but I can't stress enough, the data synchronization routines are of the highest value for us. It really reduced our development time. As I mentioned earlier, we were previously almost an exclusively on-premise solution provider. We actually did this and we were able to get our IT departments and our security to agree that it would be okay to run our OpenShift and our mobile app platform on a cloud in Amazon's web services. And our client tier. It is a native iOS application, and some of the key features of it is it has that same intelligent navigation that our website has available in our app. That's really important because many of our marketers and our product researchers, they spend time trying to understand how customers find our products. When there's 50,000 products, if you don't give a user an easy way to find what they're looking for, they're just going to walk away. Our app, we were able to preload all of our data, all of our navigation, all of the product information, and all of the media file. And that's quite a bit. So when you think of a product, the media files, there's typically 5 or 6 small preview images, and then they have larger display images. There's many different PDFs and videos that would be associated to a product. And that preloading allows users to get up, install the app, and be running day one. When we didn't preload, we actually had people that would install the app, put it in their pocket, run off to go do a sales presentation, and open it up, and there was no content. So we really realized we need to preload data, and it wasn't too much of a problem because then when the app started up at any point, it could call back to mobile app platform and synchronize the data. we actually added a new feature that our websites did not have. We allowed the sales reps inside of the application to create their own favorites. They could create their own folders and add products. So maybe they might know a little bit more. They were closer to the customers. They knew how the customer wanted to see our products, so they could create their own navigation inside of the app. And they could save that in the app and have it pushed back to the mobile app platform into our Mongo DB, so that when they installed it on their phone and on their iPad, or if they got a new device, when they reinstalled it, when they logged in, their favorites would come down. And now the app was able to meet not only our marketers who did the navigation research, but our sales reps who really knew the customers. And all of this was available offline. So, just kind of bringing it all together to see this 4-tier architecture again, we have our 3M product pages, and these give you details too in our technologies. We used Camel and a tool actually called Crawler4j to extract the data from our websites and to just extract the parts that we need. Really, we're taking a macro service, pulling it apart and making a microservice. Camel then moved the data into Mongo DB, part of Node.js. That exists in the mobile application platform. And then our client tier, it used the Feed Henry Sync API to manage the data differences between the device and the back-end system. And this just gives you a quick comparison. You can see on the left-hand side what our website looked like, and on the right-hand side what our mobile application looked like. We are actually able to replicate exactly what was on our website into a mobile app for offline usage. We hit our use case out of the park. We were reusing not just our existing Snaps architecture, we were reusing that employee training, those employee processes that ensured only vetted and publicly accessible data could get into our application. Here's some more detailed views of our app. This is our homepage. This is showing the product homepage of our personal safety protective equipment group. And they actually break their products down in Snaps into 9 major categories. Basically, they've got communication, detection systems, fall solutions, protective apparel, hearing protective products, head and face protective eyewear, respiratory protection, and welding safety. And out of their 9 major categories, it actually boiled down, they've got a left-hand refinement navigation. And then you could see right now, actually, it's not the best screenshot, but you can see there's quite a few products on the gallery side, but as we refine our navigation, so I made my selection down into material and then type rope, that gallery selection gets reduced. And then when we come to a product detail page, you can see we've got all of our different thumbnails. You can see that we've got the ability to add a product to our favorites. We actually could email it to the clients, post it to Facebook if they wanted to. We've got all of our product descriptions, and then this is showing our second tab. We've got all of the product-specific specifications, and specifications are very important on 3M products because we're selling A tier, and many of our buyers really want to know exactly what they're getting. And then we have our multimedia section. This is where all of the PDFs and videos are located. And then the great news is that 4-tier architecture, it was just the beginning of our journey. So mobile app platform is really designed for future integrations. We're making updates. We're actually moving away from crawling our website, and we are going to be getting our product data out of the Elk stack. But we're going to be able to lift and shift most of the functionality that we built, except for the crawler. We'll just get the data directly out of Elastic. And this will allow us to do future integrations. People are now asking, hey, Peter, can you connect the app into our where to buy solutions and our ratings and reviews? And we're working through those use cases. So I think we're ending a little early, but thank you. And I think we'll take some questions if you have any. Yes, sir. So the question was, why did, and correct me if I'm wrong, why did we use the native iOS versus the mobile application client build tool? For this specific case, we found the user experience to be just a little bit better in native iOS than it was over the hybrid application. But we do use the hybrid application in a different set of applications that are much simpler. So these product data apps, they need to be very glossy. They really are for a sales rep that spent 3 months and they're trying to get in front of the VP of purchasing to make a large sale. You know, these 3M products that they're selling, they're not selling Post-it notes with this application. They're selling major sales. So we do use the build engine. Actually got a simple app where we do product lookups between what is the 3M part and part number and what do our distributors reference that application. So we do use it, but not for this specific use case. So anybody else? Yes. Can you speak up just a little bit?
This application is mainly content-based.
Yep.
And you have content data from replication data in the front end to make your service for the front end. You were using transactions instead of just publishing static content. Would you still go for the same data aggregation layer with the data plans?
Yeah. I think we would. That wouldn't be logic that I'd want to write myself. One of the requests that I think we get and we're trying to work on is our marketers who do that research on how customers search for our products, they really realize the sales reps also know how customers search for our products. So that data actually is transactionally coming back from the mobile app, but now they're asking and they're saying, hey, can you let us know what our sales reps are configuring when they create favorites to help feed into their data? So, anybody else? Yeah.
So you guys handle a lot of images and videos and content like that.
Yeah.
You replicate that and do the cloning and you save it in base.
Yeah.
Basic support for that, or how do you guys get that to everybody?
You know, that's actually a great question. So the question is about all of the media, the PDFs, the images. How do we get that down to the device? And that was a huge question. So many people, when they first thought of our website, they were thinking there's going to be no way you'll be able to extract that data from the website and get it into a small enough package to make it available in the mobile app offline. But our analysis quickly showed there's really not thousands of PDFs for a product line. There's really not thousands of movies for a product line. Typically, there's about 10 to 25 PDFs, and then every product in that product line share the same PDFs. So when we did our crawler, we didn't just make a web page. We actually took the data apart and tore it into smaller pieces. It's part of the macroservices into microservices. We normalized the data. So I actually had a navigation file that contained all the navigation or the path detail that the app would move through. I had individual product records, and then we had extracted all of the media information out of the product records. We normalized it, and then in the product record, I just left a media ID, and then I referenced the media ID, and I pulled that out of Mongo. Now the synchronization, one key thing too on your question, mobile app platform synchronized the data. It did not synchronize our images and our PDFs. The client tier itself, we actually host our content on our own media server. The app itself was continually checking through its internal repository of media and saying, do I have this available online or offline? And if not, I would download it. We actually put a lot of intelligence in our synchronization tool, so we would check, are they on LTE or are they on Wi-Fi? We wouldn't let them download too much data over LTE. And if the battery was under 25%, we wouldn't even try to be pulling in data. So, yeah, that was a great question. Anybody else? Awesome. Thank you for coming. Yeah.